Welcome into Mile High Territory. Ryan Spilborghs and Troy Renck. We're going to get into what's going to be a very, very interesting weekend for Colorado, all of Major League Baseball. Trade deadline is on Monday. We'll still have a podcast on Monday, but certainly want to get into the importance of what the Rockies should be doing, and then a hypothetical that might break Major League Baseball. There's a lot of people talking about Tarik Skubal. That's the best available player. The Dodgers are interested. And if they land Tarik Skubal, does baseball stop? Troy, how are you?
Doing fantastic, Spilly. I know you're fighting through it. A long travel day. I've had a busy week with the opening of Broncos camp. It wasn't long ago. Broncos were a 5-win team under Nathaniel Hackett. I'm sorry, and they turned it around with culture and draft picks and young players. And this is an important mile marker in the Rockies season. The front office has made progress. Another win. They matched last year's win total, but there's only a few times during a year, calendar year, where you can really change the look of your team, and the trade deadline is one of them. Spilly, frankly, I'll be disappointed if there's not at least two trades for the Rockies here by the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'll take the over on that one. I feel like the Rockies should be taking a lot of calls and making some moves. And to your point, like this time frame, the draft is still a bit of a lottery, right? Like if you're taking your draft picks, it's still a bit of a lottery. Hopefully you're getting somebody good. In the trade deadline, this is where you can, like, if you scout and if you make the right deals and you're not going for bulk, which has been a problem that the Rockies have done in years past. Like, I'll give you an example. When the Rockies traded for Nolan Arenado, like the names at that time was Matthew Livator. Matthew Livator was Cardinals' top prospect. Um, you would have been a big leaguer, like immediately for the Rockies. Instead, the Rockies chose to go with bulk. And now, like you see this when you do get bulk trades, that maybe one or two guys will end up, make it to the big leagues, but three won't or four won't. Same thing happened with the Ubaldo deal. They ended up with um, Drew Pomerantz. He made it to the big leagues. He was a former first round draft pick, but some of those other trades didn't happen. Alex White didn't really make it. Some of the guys that Matthew McBride didn't make it. So bulk is not a great play because you want certainty. And like that's where the trade versus draft is so unique in that if you want a big league caliber player, you can ask for the big league caliber player.
Right.
You can actually get the one you want unless you're going bulk. So we'll see what happens. I don't think they're going bulk. I think you just go for the best available.
Yeah, I don't like the Sam's Club Costco idea at all. It doesn't, because five average things doesn't make one really good thing. Like in baseball.
Yes.
Then that Nolan trade was made, it was like the only guy of even merit was Gomber, and at that point he was like a fringe starter, long reliever, and it was really a money laundering type deal to because of COVID, and they needed to get out from under 50 million that year with Nolan's contract. So in a lot of ways, it was a salary dump, and that's but bulk. If you're going to go bulk, it's got to be one elite guy. And then if you want to throw in a bunch of bags of balls and one of them hits, fine. But I don't want five of those guys. And because history's telling you they're probably not going to even make the big leagues, let alone make an impact. And that's the goal of these trades. It's not to make my double A team better for the next 2 years. Everything you do with a trade is with the eye of winning more games at the big league level, to your point. So when I'm trading, it's what is my vision for the top piece in this trade? Is he going to be my third starter? Is he going to be a middle of the order bat? I don't, and that's why I used to joke with the Rockies. Like they trade for guys who are, you know, eighth or ninth in the order, their fifth starters, extra outfielders. Of like you quarter the market on those guys. You've got enough of those guys, and they're really good. You need a guy who's going to hit in the top five. You need one starter who's going to be the number three, the number three starters. So it's not easy, certainly with pitching, because everybody wants it. We understand that. When you got Hunter Green available, you got some of these bigger names available. They're going to probably need them to go off the board. But the Rockies have Goodman, and they have a Bernardino, a left-handed piece that everyone would want as a contender. I don't know about Senzatella now. I'd still deal him, but he's not pitched well. But I still you have to move him because he's an expiring contract. And I mean, as much as talked about, I think Jake McCarthy or Mickey Moniak, one of them has to go to get pitching. You say it more than I do. When you have depth in the outfield in AAA, the big league level, you've got to get pitching. So at this point, Spilly, seen reports, and you're around the team more than I am, certainly, that in all these trades, like with Goodman, they're out asking for like Tampa Bay's number one prospect. Like, they're not fooling around. And that's great because that's what I want to hear. We're going for the moon. We want three of those guys, but we want your number one prospect and another big leaguer. We don't want three guys from Class A.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why I think you can shoot for the moon here is that the catcher's market is scarce. Like there's just not a lot of guys out there. So if you're asking for a 30 home run catcher who's only going to get better defensively, you ask for the top prospect, and that's the going rate. There is nobody else. I mean, it's Adley Rutschman and it's Hunter Goodman. You want a catcher? Those are your two choices. And I don't think
Yeah, the
Baltimore's
A's
out
guys,
there.
right? The A's guy's out. He's hurt. He got Shea Langolier, whatever, the All Star. He had season-ending knee surgery. Logan O'Hoppe got traded. I mean, he's terrible offensively this year. So I mean,
He's in the minor leagues.
did they put him? Yeah, I was going to say I don't even know if he's a big league hitter anymore. But he was packaged with the reliever. That trade was centered around a bullpen arm. But and if the Rockies like to trade with Goodman, I would be. That's one. It has to be the. You got to feel really good about that one because he's under control for 3 more years, and he provides power, unique power at a position. So. But again, if you're talking about you're going to give me your top, you're a number three starter in the big leagues and your top minor league pitcher, like who's a top 25 in the entire game, yeah, then I'm gonna have that conversation because they got to add pitching. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere if you're the Rockies if they don't get more competitive in the front end of the mound.
Well, and I have a tough time saying this because, like, I love Rockies fans. I love them. And having a catcher like Hunter, that hurts to trade him. Like, again, you feel like you're another team's farm system. Here's where I'm begging Rockies fans to hear me out. If you go back and you think of some of the players the Rockies had that they didn't trade during the deadline, the ones that stand out was John Gray and Trevor Story. The return for Trevor Story The return for Trevor Story, it is public, it is out there, it is 100%. The Chicago Cubs traded Pete Crow Armstrong, traded for Pete Crow Armstrong with Javi Baez to the New York Mets. The Rockies were in on that conversation. There was either Javi Baez or is Trevor Story to the New York Mets. And the return piece was Pete Crow Armstrong. That's what the Rockies missed out on. That's what the Rockies missed out on when they didn't trade him. And now circumstances a little bit different because Trevor Story was going to be an impending free agent. And then the Rockies also felt like they'd be able to get a compensation pick through free agency and land somebody that they felt comfortable because they were so good at drafting these comp picks that were big agents. So that's what
I just heard
happened.
you say the sentence. They were so good drafting, and I had like literally went
I
into a
know.
fever dream.
Very tongue in cheek. So I like that's that like if you think about it that way, the ones that got away and there's a chance that Pete Armstrong wouldn't have been a good player. So that like it's a little bit unfair because we get to see what Pete Armstrong has turned into.
No, but you're
But there
talking about the value. Like that's the value of you're getting back. You don't know that PCA is going to be an MVP candidate, but you know he's got a hell of a chance to be your everyday center fielder based on the
yes.
profile of the player. You don't know the ceiling. You don't know how he's going to deal with change, but you're not betting on a guy that's like, well, if he makes these 17 adjustments, he might hit 230 in the big leagues and help us off the bench. Like you're getting a top of the line talent that profiles as an everyday guy, like an impact player.
Yeah, exactly. And like you can even go if you remember the Troy Tulowitzki rumors. Like the names in that deal, if the Rockies were willing to trade in division, which they weren't, especially because Tulo had multiple years of control. The names in that one was Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger's name was in that deal because he was one of the top prospects for the Dodgers at the time. And so and it could have been a Jock Peterson. So it's like that's the combination of what you're looking for the Rockies, and where I feel like because Josh and Paul, they didn't draft these players, and I think that's fair because I'm seeing that right now with John Mozeliak with the Angels and some of the front office guys that are taking over some of these organizations where they don't have the I guess you can call it an intimate relationship with the player as far as drafting, developing, and being in love with that player that it becomes so difficult to move on from them. And I think that there's a separation here where that's not going to impact decisions. Like, do the front office love the players? Yes. Do they respect the players? Yes. Do they want them to do good? Of course. But there's not a bias that keeps them to that player anymore, which I think is important.
Again, the farm system's starting to show some fruit. I mean, even when you were playing Rolando Fernandez, he was was largely responsible for the World Series because of Ubaldo Jimenez and Franklin Morales. But you've got the kid who just won MVP of the Arizona Complex League. We have 422. My son works in that league. He saw him. He's like, Dad, this dude's legit. Like, and he's gonna only grow into power. I think he's 19. Brito is moved up. Like he's something. Like they've got some pieces coming to where, and again, it's a hard sell to fans because they don't trust the system. And I get it. Trust me. I mean, I get when they're telling you we got a minor leaguer coming and you're like, mm-hmm. But Condon still has a chance to make an impact. I mean, that was an auto pick, and he should still be a good big leaguer. I'd be surprised if he's not a good big leaguer. I wanted him to take Jock Caglione, but it doesn't matter. Eventually, Condon's going to be up. And but my point of all this is if they've got some pieces forming, but Spilly, when you look at the pitching in the system, Breck's hurt, and the JB kid, what's his last name? I can't. Middleton, I think his last name is. Their two top pitching guys are both hurt. I mean, they've had certain. I mean, so like when you look at their top 15 prospects right now, there's no pitching on the way. There's no Jeff Francis. There's no Chinwei Sao.
Yeah.
There's no Abaldo. Like there's nobody on the way. Like Carson, I felt for you guys on the broadcast when you guys were talking of Carson Palmquist last year. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being,
He
but
is a wonderful human.
I'm watching him pitch, and I'm like, if that's your top pitching prospect, throwing essentially slop like a that's a middle reliever. That's not if that's your top starting pitching prospect, we got to rethink what we're developing because I mean nothing against him. I think he is a big leaguer, but he's not really a rotational guy. He's certainly not in Colorado with that arsenal. So they just that's why when people ask how could they trade these guys, it's because folks they have no pitching on the way, and they're going to get a few guys off on the margins in free agency, but they're not ever going to be a player for a big name. That's not even money. That's just by choice. No one chooses to come to Coors Field if they're an elite pitcher unless you want to pay them double or something. So that's why this deadline is so important, Spilly. And it's important not only to identify pitching, but how that pitching could fit for you. Like again, we feel like they found something with Gabriel Hughes with the cutter. Maybe that profile is changing, and you're filing all this data, but you can't get a four-seam guy who gives up a bunch of home runs and then get him here and go, man, it just doesn't seem like it fits. Like, okay, we can't have that conversation post trade. And I
Yeah.
try I again naively maybe I trust Depot, I trust Burns because of their baseball IQ, and I really trust Josh because he's been in it for the last freaking 35 years. I think he's going to have a good deadline, but I don't know yet. And I think how would you? I mean, do you feel from being around the game? Around, are you feeling like they're in position to execute a couple of good trades? That this isn't a salary dump, or is the way the market's shifting, is it working against them? I heard Moniak with the Yankees. I've heard McCarthy with the Yankees. But, I mean, there's enough contenders that like their players and they're a clear seller. Shouldn't they be able to get one or two good deals out of this?
You should be, yes, and I think they will. I do. And like I said, what's going to happen this weekend? Rockies take on the Royals. There's going to be a lot of scouts in attendance in Colorado. Royals are going to be sellers. You're hold on. Royals are going to be sellers. You're also going to be looking at the possibility of what you can get in return. I will probably get a text message or two from a scout asking about a Rockies player, just curiosity wise. Hey, is this guy a good dude or anything like that? That usually is a signal to me that there's some interest out there. I have received text messages from people that I know asking about certain Rockies players. It's also not my role where I say anything just because I want to keep that anonymity down. So I think overall, when the Rockies do make a move, it's it's going to happen with players that are going to be gone. Like I don't see a big package where you might add a Zach Veen in there or anything like that. I think they're going to keep minor league prospect capital. If there is a scenario where they are adding, a minor leaguer to get a better player on return on that other side, right? Like possibility of an Antonio Senzatella with a Zach Veen, so you get a much better prospect return. That could happen. In years past, that would never happen. So that's gonna be interesting for me to see if Rockies do include some of their position player prospects to a pitcher to make a deal sweeter to get a better return. That very much could be in play. Very much could be in play, which we
You like
haven't seen
Will
that.
Warren? Do you like Will Warren, the pitcher from the Yankees? He looks like he profiles. I've seen his name and someone might be a
Yeah,
belt.
he spins it as well as anybody in baseball. Like if you want to go watch Will Ward, he spins it like he's David Cohn. Um, but I mean, for me, it's a little bit more. I'd like to see a little more extension with velocity. I think that's been one of the biggest things we've noticed in the last couple of years with pitching at the top rail is guys that have the good extension with some velocity. Um, that ends up playing really well at Coors Field because there you don't have to worry about it. As long as you're a strike thrower, you're fine. Uh, you're fine. All right, I want to get into a story that's kind of the hypothetical, but I also think there's a lot of merit to it. It sounds like the Dodgers are in on Tarik Skubal. Andrew Friedman yesterday was saying, "Hey, there's not too many times when the best player becomes available on the market, and if a great player comes on the market, Dodgers are interested." Well, the Dodgers have one of the top three farm systems in baseball. If the Dodgers land Scooble, I think everybody's willing to quit, right? Like everybody's going to say that the whole system's broken. The problem that I have here is that Scooble is going to get traded. The Tigers got lucky in that Scooble got this nano procedure that basically bought him a second life. Bought him a second life. And even though the Tigers are playing better, like there was a chance that Scuba was out for the season and the
Yeah.
Tigers got nothing. They're not going to miss out on the opportunity a second time. Scubal's gone. Scubal will be traded. It's just to who. And if it's the Dodgers, I would not be shocked at all. And I would actually be like, yep, the Tigers probably did what they had to do, which was to get the best package in baseball, too. Because it's not like the Tigers are trying to help the Dodgers win another World Series. They're trying to get the best players for their organization.
I would think the Dodgers are going to have a real shot. The Braves would have a real shot. I don't know about the Yankees, their farm system, but the Yankees, they're in on every big name like the Dodgers. Maybe the Cubs with Scooble makes some sense to me, but the Dodgers make sense because I'm not sure Otani pitches again this year, based on what I'm reading and hearing. He's not throwing bullpens, and you start getting into August, and if he shuts down for a month, Spilly, are they really going to ramp him back up because of who he is? Like a normal pitcher, yes, but because of the knee, now the arm issue, and so they've got what Yamamoto and they've got Sasaki. At some point, you would think Snell and or Glasnow would come back, right? I mean, but obviously you get Scooble, he goes to the front of that. I mean, if you go Scooble, Yamamoto, and then pick a third guy between Glasnow, Snell, and Sasaki, good luck. Good luck. I mean, and that might be the final straw that unfortunately that brings owners willing to shut down baseball for a long time over the salary cap issue. I think you're going to miss them, if I had to guess, a month, miss that first paycheck, and maybe it's a 140 game season. That's my current projection based on people I talk to. But listen, I'm not going to hold it against the Dodgers. I'm not that guy. They've benefited from the rules. They have the ownership to do it. And unlike most teams that are rich, they devote a lot of their resources to the minor leagues and drafting and developing. So they have a great farm system. So when they want a player, they can go get it. Most rich teams, when I covered it, they were top heavy at the big league level, and then their minor league system kind of sucked, or they were great in the minor leagues, and then they didn't spend at the major league level. The Dodgers do both better than really anyone. And I'm going to hold that against them? No, I'm not going to. They corner the market. They find market efficiencies. They overpay minor league coaches. They have really good people like Josh Burns was in charge of their drafts, and they go out and get a bunch of arms. So if two blow out, they got two behind it. They're like freaking Noah's Ark, two of everything. So listen, if they get him, it's gonna suck. I get it, but I'm also not gonna be like, oh, it's a. Remember when Kyle Tucker was gonna be the reason baseball ended? Guys hitting like 230. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
for
it's always
127
something.
million dollars. Yeah, for 127 million dollars, he's a 7-hole hitter for the Dodgers. Like,
And I lived
congratulations.
it with Steinbrenner. Right, exactly. I lived it with Steinbrenner every year. The Yankees are ruining baseball. And again, baseball has issues. This isn't the best year to argue salary cap because of the end, excuse me, the Guardians, the Rays, and what some of these small market teams are doing. The Brewers. I mean, there's a chance. It's just when you get to the postseason, that's where the argument becomes fair. Because the Dodgers' resources overwhelm you. Personally, I would rather he go to the Braves or the Cubs, somebody else that could then challenge the Phillies, or to pick a team that would then have a just grudge match against the Dodgers in the playoffs. Because it feels like if the Dodgers get him, it's just a ticket to the World Series. I mean, am I missing something?
No, no, you're not missing anything. I think the Dodgers are well on their way to be at least being a national championship series. Look, the other part for me is, does the salary cap fix a bad secondary lead? Does the salary cap fix, not covering first base, not doing the little things? Garrett Cole failed to cover first base in Game 5 of the World Series. That has nothing to do with the salary cap. Isaiah Counter-Falefa last year didn't get a good enough secondary lead from third base. Was out by like half a cleat. The salary cap doesn't do that. My point is very easily the Dodgers could not have been back-to-back World Series champs.
Correct.
Okay, like as much as we think like they won it and swept it in 4 games, they didn't. And like there's only so much payroll and teams can do. Like ultimately, like the players has to execute, and the Dodgers have executed. The other part where the Dodgers have executed here is that they're risk adverse. I think the Milwaukee Brewers can land Tarik Skubal.
Hmm.
I think the Brewers could land Scubbal like a CC Sabathia back in 2008. The
That was
problem that
great.
you the problem that you have is Matt Arnold has been public in saying like, I'm not sure we need to get a Scubbal because we have this farm system that's built up for years of success. And he's not wrong. And he's not wrong. So like the Dodgers go and land Scooble. They also know that they're paying away, these players that they're trading on, and they're in it for the short term because winning 3 World Series in a row is impossible. They're going for it.
Right.
The Brewers are not probably willing to do it. The Cubs are probably don't have the farm system to do it.
What about the
Like the
Braves? Do they have the farm system to do it?
well, and you have Alex Anthopoulos, who I think has enough, like he's okay jumping out of a plane without a parachute.
Yeah,
Like
he's got the onion
I'm
to do it for sure.
yeah, he's got the bells to do it. So I think the Braves are probably in on this one too. Um, it's just hard, right? Like I think ultimately when these trades do happen, I think overall fan bases get frustrated because you want it to be your team that does it. And hopefully the Rockies get to that spot where, it's their team, it's our team that's landing the guy and the name, because the farm system's good enough to land, the team's good enough to land, and you're adding talent every single year, that's a dream for me, is to be part of what the Dodger fan is feeling, what the Yankee fans feeling, what Philly fans are feeling. I want to feel that. I
It
want to
feels
feel
like
that.
the last time the Rockies did that, and I'm sure I'm missing a year in here because I haven't covered baseball on the everyday since 2014. But when they acquired Rafael Betancourt and Joe Beimel, like they're going for it. That was like a big deal for the Rockies, and they don't make like these huge, but that was a trade, like because for years it was either inactivity or sell, and then that year it was like, man, they're kind of going for it, and both those guys worked out. Betancourt ended up being a great reliever for them, and Joe Beimel had one of the greatest walk-in sounds of all time with God's
Yeah, Joe's great.
Johnny Cash, baby. I love Joe Beimel. He was funny as hell. I loved interviewing that guy. But Scuba. I didn't even think of the Brewers, but man, can you imagine Spilly? And who knows what the way rest is and everything. But I covered the World Series when Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling by themselves basically beat the Yankees. Basically like won 4 of the 7 games, and Randy came out in relief in Game 7. Can you imagine Miz and Scooble? Well, I guess it'd be Scooble. I mean, back to. I mean, if you got 4 starts from those guys in a 7 game series, I'd like my chances. I'm talking about anybody, but the problem is, are they going to go 5 innings? And then, but like old school talking, if you had those two, that would be like the equivalent of Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling. Like you get into a 7 game series, those guys can beat you 4 times. They can. They're just, I mean, that year in '01, I think they combined for like 600 strikeouts. I mean, you go back and look at their stats and how they pitched like 300 innings. I mean, the
Yeah.
numbers, like, you're basically like 2 starters now. If you look at their numbers, they were the equivalent of 2 starters now. But I didn't even think of Milwaukee, Spilly, but I like that. But I haven't heard. I'll have to talk to some. I know some really good Brewers fans and how they would feel about that, because there is that. We don't need that. This isn't who we are. But god damn, they're so good. At some point, you got to take a. You get to a point. They got you where, are we ever going to be better than this? You know what I mean? Like, how many years are you going to be a 100 win team and you have a chance to get a Scooble? I mean, to me, because once he's a free agent, you have no chance. I mean, you know
No.
it's a rental. You know it's a rental. The Dodgers could sign him, obviously, but you like when they got Sabathia, I think he went 10-1 that time
Yeah.
they got him. And Randy Johnson at the deadline to the Astros and Sabathia at the deadline to the Brewers are the 2 best I've ever seen.
Fingers crossed that we see something like that, because I mean, it'll be one of those memories, core memories for whatever fan base. And if they have a run, you'll talk about the 2026, the year that the Brewers saved baseball by not allowing the machine of the Dodgers to ruin everything, which I don't believe in. So it'll be fascinating to see. It's going to happen. Scubal's getting traded this weekend. It's probably going to be before Monday. So we'll get a chance to react to that as well. All right, Troy, have a great weekend. Rockies and Royals. See me at the ballpark if you're around.